Have you ever wondered if there's a hidden blueprint to your brain's unique wiring? Beyond identification, scientists are now exploring whether the intricate loops and whorls on your fingers could be a window into your neurological health and even your personality. Could your fingerprints unlock deeper connections to how your brain functions? Join us as we uncover this astonishing new frontier. Imagine you wake up one morning and discover that every single person on the planet suddenly has identical fingerprints. Billions of hands, billions of identical patterns. No uniqueness, no individuality, no way to identify anyone. Every crime unsolvable, every security system useless. Every human indistinguishable at the biological level. The world would collapse into absolute psychological chaos. And it is only when you imagine this impossible scenario that you finally realize how powerful those tiny ridges on your fingertips really are. Because in reality, in the real universe, governed by biology, mathematics, and psychology, this scenario is not just unlikely. It is scientifically impossible. Fingerprints are not random marks. They are one of the most complex biological signatures ever discovered. So complex that even with trillions of humans across history, no two have ever matched. And the deeper you go into the science, the more astonishing this truth becomes. Because your fingerprint is not simply a pattern. It is a biological autobiography, a psychological metaphor, a cosmic accident, and a scientific marvel that reveals why human uniqueness is not just emotional. It is encoded into our very skin. For centuries, fingerprints were just fingerprints, simple patterns on our skin. But science, especially psychology, has shown us something incredible. The uniqueness of fingerprints mirrors the uniqueness of the mind. Each pattern on your fingertip is a physical metaphor for the pattern inside your brain. Your memories, your emotions, your behavior, your identity. The same way, no two fingerprints are identical, no two minds are ever the same. Even identical twins with identical DNA grow into completely different individuals because their experiences, pressures, and internal environment shape them differently. And the psychological parallel between the mind and the fingerprint is one of the most fascinating truths of human existence. Before you were even born, long before you took your first breath, before your brain formed full memories, before your personality began emerging, you were already becoming unique. Around the 10th week of pregnancy, the skin on your tiny fingers began forming ridges. But here is one where it becomes psychologically profound. The formation of those ridges wasn't mathematically planned or genetically pre-designed. It was emergent. It came from pressure, movement, stress, environment, randomness. Your position in the womb, the movement of amniotic fluid, the pressure of your thumb pressing against the uterine wall, the tiny differences in how you curled your hand, the vibrations of your mother's heartbeat, the microscopic variations in blood flow. All these chaotic environmental factors work together to carve your fingerprint. And doesn't that sound exactly like how the human personality forms? Genetics gives the blueprint, but environment, every influence, every sound, every emotion, every micro-experience, sculpts the developing mind. Even identical twins who share the same DNA develop different personalities, different fears, different temperaments, different choices. The same way their fingerprints diverge in the womb, their minds diverge in the environment. Psychologists call this differential development. Nature creates the possibilities, environment decides the outcome. You can see this in daily life. Two children raised in the same home, under the same roof, by the same parents, with the same rules and the same food on the table, yet they grow into completely different people. One becomes more confident, the other becomes more cautious. One becomes expressive, the other becomes quiet. One remembers childhood as warm and happy, the other remembers it as strict and stressful. They lived the same events, yet their minds processed those events differently. Just like twins sharing a womb don't form identical fingerprints, siblings sharing a home don't form identical personalities. Even something as small as how two friends respond to the same situation reveals this individuality. Imagine two co-workers facing criticism from their boss. One goes home feeling defeated and anxious, questioning their abilities. The other becomes motivated, determined to improve and impress. Same event, same words. Different mental fingerprints responding differently. Or think of two people stuck in the same traffic jam. One gets furious, honking, cursing, feeling trapped. The other plays music, rolls down the window, accepting that the world won't end because of a delay. Same situation, different psychological patterns shaped by years of life experiences. Your fingerprint is a psychological symbol, a reminder that you are the product of both nature and nurture, biology and chaos, order and randomness. You are a living example of countless tiny variables interacting across time. Your identity, your emotions, your worldview, even the way you react to someone interrupting you mid-sentence. All of it formed the same way your fingerprint formed, through pressure, chance, environment, and experience. Now imagine this. You're in a crowd, a concert, a marketplace, a busy airport, thousands of faces, hundreds of voices, so many lives intersecting and passing by. But each person around you is carrying a code that no one else in the world possesses, and they re-carrying another invisible code inside their skull. A network of neurons so uniquely wired by experiences, traumas, hopes, beliefs, and memories that even the most advanced artificial intelligence cannot replicate it. Neuroscientists estimate the brain forms around 100 trillion synaptic connections, and the exact pattern of these connections has never repeated in another human being. In psychology, this is why understanding human behavior is so complex, because every brain you study is a one-of-one model. You can observe this in everyday interactions. You might meet two people who laugh at the same joke, speak the same language, work the same job, enjoy the same movies. But the reason behind those behaviors is never identical. One laughs at a joke because humor helped them survive a tough childhood. The other laughs because they grew up in a joyful, playful home. Two people like the same movie, but one loves it for the romance while the other loves it for the visuals. Two co-workers behave politely at the office, but one is genuinely kind while the other is masking anxiety or insecurity. We see similar actions, but the internal fingerprints, the psychological motivations, are always different. Fingerprints lead us into this same mystery of uniqueness. Ancient civilizations knew there was something special about them long before science provided evidence. Babylonians used fingerprints on clay tablets as signatures. Chinese dynasties used thumbprints to authenticate important documents. They didn't understand genetics, they didn't understand fetal development, but they instinctively recognized fingerprints as extensions of identity, a physical expression of the self. And then, centuries later, Sir Francis Galton scientifically confirmed what humans intuitively felt for millennia. Fingerprints do not change. Not with age, not with growth, not with injury. Even if skin is burned or damaged, the ridges grow back in the same pattern. Psychology sees a similar phenomenon. Core personality traits remain relatively stable throughout life. Your basic temperament, your emotional tendencies, your cognitive style, they rarely vanish. They can evolve, be shaped, or influenced, but the core remains intact, just like your fingerprint. You can see this stability in daily behavior too. A child who shows early signs of curiosity, always opening drawers, taking apart toys, asking why, often grows into an adult who loves learning or problem-solving. A child who is naturally cautious grows up to plan carefully, avoid risks, think ahead. A child who shows early empathy, helping siblings, comforting others, noticing emotional changes, often becomes a compassionate adult. These aren't coincidences. These are psychological ridges, mental patterns carved early and refined across time, mirroring the biological patterns etched into fingertips. But if fingerprints are physically unique, the mind is psychologically unique in a far deeper way. Two fingerprints may differ by thousands of tiny ridge characteristics. Two minds may differ by millions of thoughts, fears, dreams, and behaviors. And that's why psychology treats every patient, every client, every human story differently. There is no universal formula because humans themselves are not universal. They are individualized worlds. Now let's go even deeper into the enigma. Scientists estimate that the probability of two fingerprints being identical is around 1 in 1060. a number so incomprehensibly large that it exceeds the number of atoms in entire galaxies. In psychology, we see a similar probability with identical life experiences. Think about it. Even if two people walk the same path, grow up in the same house, attend the same school, are taught by the same teachers, their mind still processes events differently. One child may find a loud voice intimidating, another might find it motivating. One might internalize failure deeply, another may shrug it off. One forms anxiety from childhood pressure, another forms resilience from the same pressure. Our minds do not copy experiences, they interpret them individually. Just like fingerprints never copy each other, they form individually. You see this every day without realizing it. Two students receive the same grade on an exam. One goes home devastated, believing their future is doomed. The other shrugs, says, "I'll do better next time," and moves on. Two partners receive the same compliment. One glows with happiness, while the other becomes suspicious because of past betrayal. Same words, different mental fingerprints interpreting them. Or consider parenting. A parent might raise their voice once, and one child gets deeply hurt, while the other barely notices. Each mind has its own emotional ridges, its own internal map of meaning. And here comes the paradox. Fingerprints are not made for identification. They evolved for grip, friction, and sensitivity. Their uniqueness is simply a byproduct, an accidental miracle. Nature didn't design them to be identification codes, but humans turned them into one. Psychology shows us the same phenomenon. Many traits we carry were not designed for modern life, but we adapted them. Anxiety once protected us from predators. Today, it spirals into disorders. Stress was designed to keep us alive. Today, it burns us from the inside. Anger kept our ancestors safe. Today, it destroys relationships. The fingerprints evolution reminds us how human behavior, too, is full of unintended consequences. And this becomes clearer in everyday situations. Think of anxiety. Once it was a survival tool, a warning system that helped humans detect danger. But today, the same mechanism activates when someone sends you a short text like, "We need to talk," or when your boss calls you into the office, or when your exam results will be announced in 10 minutes. The system was built for tigers in the wild, but today it fires up for emails and deadlines. The structure stayed the same, only the environment changed. Now imagine something chilling. A researcher cleans dust from an ancient 2,000-year-old clay tablet and sees a fingerprint. Someone who lived in a world without electricity, without modern language, without the cities we know today. Touch that artifact. That print belonged to a mind with hopes, fears, dreams, and emotions, a mind that no longer exists, but its physical signature survived. This connection across time is psychological gold. It shows us something breathtaking. Humans always leave traces of themselves. Not just physically, but emotionally. Every interaction you've ever had leaves a mark on someone's mind, a mental fingerprint. Someone remembers your kindness. Someone remembers your insult. Someone carries your words inside their memory circuits. You have left prints on more minds than you will ever know. You experience this without realizing. Years later, you still remember a teacher who told you, "You're talented." That sentence became a mental fingerprint. Or maybe you remember someone mocking your accent, and now you hesitate to speak in groups. Another mental fingerprint. You remember a stranger holding the door for you on a difficult day, or a friend abandoning you when you needed help most, or a parent hugging you tightly after you broke down. These moments remain not because they were big, but because they pressed deep into your emotional skin. Just like fingerprints leave marks on surfaces, people leave marks on hearts. Today, fingerprints are everywhere in our digital world, unlocking phones, authorizing transactions, granting access, solving crimes. The algorithms that analyze them are incredibly advanced, reading hundreds of ridge characteristics in milliseconds with near-perfect accuracy. But here's the twist psychology brings. Machines can identify fingerprints, but they cannot understand the person behind them. A fingerprint can unlock a phone, but only psychology can unlock the mind that used it. Every choice you make today, what you fear, what you desire, how you react, why you cry, what motivates you, is shaped the same way your fingerprint was shaped. by pressure, environment, randomness, and your first experiences. The ridges on your fingers and the pathways in your brain were both sculpted by chaos. You are not the person you are because of simple genetics. You are the person you are because of millions of interactions, sensations, relationships, and emotional imprints that formed who you became. And this plays out in small moments you experience every day. Why does one person cry during emotional movies while another doesn't feel a thing? Why does one person get angry quickly while another stays calm in the same situation? Why does one person trust easily and another struggles to open up? These aren't random behaviors. These are psychological fingerprints shaped by childhood, by relationships, by victories and losses, by the way life has pressed against you. Even your everyday preferences reflect your inner uniqueness. Two friends order the same meal, but one savors every bite because it reminds them of childhood comfort, while the other barely tastes it because food was never emotional for them. Two people walk into the same room. One feels at home, the other feels unsafe. Two people hear the same song. One feels nostalgia, the other feels nothing. The world gives the same inputs, but each mind produces different outputs. So the next time you look at your fingerprint, remember this. You are more unique than you think, more impossible than you realize, more irreplaceable than you'll ever understand. Even if someone copied your face, your voice, your behavior, your style, they could never recreate your fingerprint. And even if they could somehow recreate your fingerprint, they could never recreate your mind. Because your thoughts, memories, pain, love, fears, desires, and emotional scars are not repeatable. They are yours, and yours alone. Your fingerprint is simply nature, its reminder of a deeper truth. The human mind is the rarest thing in the universe. There has never been anyone like you before, and there will never be anyone like you again.